Welcome back to day 5 of the 12 Days of Giftness. It is so good to be back again for another day. Let's crack on into it. Today we're talking about your inner child. But first, you know the drill by now. Let's start with our quotes. Quote number 1 says, "In a world where you can be anything, be kind." I love that. Of all the things we can strive to be, super successful, super rich, super everything, just being kind. That's a really great place to aspire to be. Quote number 2 says, "When a person becomes their own best friend, life gets easier." Being friends with yourself, wow, what a concept. A lot of people do really like themselves, and that is awesome, but there are a lot of people who deep down don't have the highest opinion of themselves, and I think that's really, really sad. And it's one of the things that we are seeking to change here. Change for the better is to develop our self-esteem, develop our self-image, be kinder to ourselves, learn to love ourselves. So let's be our own best friend. Heck, we have to spend our whole lives with ourselves, so we may as well learn to enjoy our own company. So let's talk about our inner child. If you're not familiar with the concept of having an inner child, it might sound a little bit far-fetched, a little bit woo-woo, but bear with me. So our inner child makes reference to our younger, past selves that we can say live inside of us. I liken our years on the planet to rings on a tree. Every year a tree gets a new ring. We also develop our own rings. Every year we add a layer of wisdom and knowledge to ourselves. We add experience, we add depth, we add character to ourselves. We grow in different ways depending on what we've been through, what we've experienced in life. When we're born and as children, we're trying to make sense of our surroundings, trying to understand this big thing known as the world that we live in. Understanding language, time, routines, relationships, how things work. There are so many phases and stages of our development and our growth. Some of us had amazing childhoods. Some of us had horrendous childhoods. Most of us probably had a mixture of both. Mostly it was probably okay. There were some really great bits. There were some bits we'd probably like to change. But as much as we'd like to try, we cannot go back in time and change what has already happened. We formulate beliefs based on the years of experience we have on the planet. It's as though every year, the lens of life just zooms out a little bit. We've learned a little more, we've gained a little more knowledge and experience. We understand a little bit more about life. There's that expression that says you can't see the forest for the trees. And I feel that as children, we don't have that greater perspective. We only go by what we know. And children make beliefs. They come to conclusions after being on the planet for only a few short years. And sometimes we're not even conscious of these beliefs. We're not sure why we think things a certain way as adults, but if we home back into where this belief came from, we can attach it to a point in time in our childhood and go, I had this experience and I understood this thing as a child, as a 3-year-old, as a 5-year-old, and then I've processed things since then based on this belief. But at a certain point, we have to establish that we are no longer children. But so often we run our everyday lives and our thoughts and our programming and our processes and our reactions based on initial beliefs or thoughts that we developed as children, and we've just built on from there. So before this program started, I made a video about why I was doing the 12 Days of Giftness, and I talked a little bit about RTT and why it was such an amazing therapy. So in RTT, we access the subconscious mind. We bypass the critical, chattering, conscious mind, and we access the subconscious. And there are a lot of different tools that we can use while in that subconscious state to affect change going forward. And there are a number of tools that incorporate the inner child. And one of those tools is to see yourself as the age that you are now, and you see yourself in your mind walking up to the front door of your childhood home, and you see yourself opening the front door, walking inside, and making your way through the house, and you know exactly where everything is. You can see it all vividly in your mind. And you make your way to your childhood bedroom, and as you open the door of your childhood bedroom, there on the bed is a younger version of you. We take the time to sit with the younger version of you. We dialogue with the younger version of you. We establish that the child version of you came to conclusions after they'd only been on this planet for a few short years. Let's say that there were areas of deprivation in your childhood. Your parents might not have been very wealthy. You might have had to share a bedroom with some other siblings. You might not have had new shoes to go to school in. You might have had secondhand clothing. There might not have been enough food in the cupboards. Your parents might have argued constantly. Maybe there wasn't a mother or father in your life. Maybe your parents were very strict or used to punish you. We then invite the younger version of you to come with us into your current life. And so we take the younger version of you by the hand and lead them out of their childhood home. We put them in the car that you own and drive from the childhood house all the way to your current house. And this might involve taking planes or trains to get from your childhood house to your current house. And when you get to your front door of your new house, you invite them in. You show them around your new house. You show them your wardrobe. You show them your bank account. You show them your iPhone that you never had as a child. You show them your laptop, your TV, your house, your family, your partner, your children, your pets, your friends. You show the child version of you the adult life that you have made. And it's a really great opportunity for the younger version of you to look around and say, wow, look at all the things I've achieved. I may have come from hardship. I may have come from poverty. I may not have had the best upbringing. But look how far I've come. This is the job I have. These are the children that I have. This is the life that I'm living. These are the countries that I've been to. I can wear the clothes I want. I can read the books I want. I can watch the Netflix that I want. I can choose what I have for dinner. The younger version of you sees all the choices that you have, sees the freedom that you have, and sees the life that you're living now. The next part of the journey I really love, because the current you leans in to give the smaller you a hug, and you hold that smaller you so tight, and you offer them all of the love and the support and the kindness and the respect that you always wanted as a child. You become the loving parent to yourself, because you are the only one that knows exactly what that small child needed. No one can know the younger you like you do. Your hopes, your dreams, your desires for the future. And you hug that little you tightly in your arms. And as you hug each other, you begin to kind of morph into one. And then the smaller you is invited to live inside of you and is now part of your world, part of your adult world, to be cared for and loved and respected by you forever. And we say it's never too late to have the childhood you always wanted. And then we can say, well, now that this younger version of you lives inside of you, and you are going to be the parent to them now, the parent that you always wanted, how will you live your life honoring that child that lives within you? So that's a really beautiful part of the RTT process, which I just love. And another part of that process is deciding where inside of us they're going to live. For a lot of people, their younger selves will take up residence, say, in their heart or their chest or somewhere that's really central and warm and cozy. And in my method, in my process, I like to ask, what does this place inside me look like? Is it a place that is loving and welcoming for a small child to run around and play inside? Is where they live now, is it an oasis? Is it safe? Is it warm? Do they feel comfortable there? Can they be themselves there? Is it a place that nurtures their curiosity and their imagination? Are there books and puzzles and places to explore and run around and have fun? Once we've established a home inside of us for this gorgeous, lovely, innocent, pure, absolutely amazing little child, how do we look after ourselves to really honor that young child? Are we living a healthy lifestyle? Are we working every day towards our goals? Are we feeding ourselves nourishing, healthy food that respects and honors ourselves? For a lot of us, when we were children, we would say, when I grow up and I have children, I want them to have the best of everything. I want them to have an amazing life. I don't want them to have to worry about this. I want them to have access to this. I want them to try these things. Are we living our lives in accordance with what we wanted as children? Are we honoring our bodies by living the way that we would want our children to live? Are we in healthy, safe relationships? Are we constantly learning and striving to be our best? Are we playing sports and doing activities that are fun, that nurtures our playful side? And even things like smoking or vaping or alcohol consumption. If we smoke and we're breathing smoke into our bodies, is that providing a safe, healthy environment for our inner child to live? Would we fill the lungs of a small child with smoke? If not, why do we fill our own lungs? Having the odd glass of wine every now and again isn't normally an issue for most people, but going on binges, drinking alcohol to excess, overloading our livers, would we do that to a child? If something's not safe and healthy for a child, why do we say it's okay for us? Why are we not worthy of the same love and protection and care that a child is? It's funny because a lot of people might not live the healthiest lifestyles in general, but then they find out that they're pregnant and they say, oh, well, I cleaned up my act while I was pregnant. I stopped drinking, I stopped the drugs, I stopped smoking, I stopped eating takeaways, and I started incorporating a lot more healthy things into my lifestyle. And why did we make those changes? We made those changes because there was a child living inside of us at the time. But the question is, why did we do it for that child? Why did we see the child as being worthy of living in an environment that was healthy and safe? But before that child was there, we didn't deem ourselves as being worthy of living that safe, healthy lifestyle. And just to reiterate, I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to point fingers or blame or shame. This is just food for thought. I think a really beautiful mantra that we could live our lives by is, how can I act today to honor the beautiful child within me that didn't feel seen, didn't feel heard, didn't feel safe, didn't feel loved, didn't feel cared for, didn't feel worthy, didn't feel good enough? How can we act today to honor that child? If anybody didn't feel like they got enough love, enough attention, they didn't feel seen or heard, or feel like they mattered as a child, I have a little activity for you. So just close your eyes. And I want you just to see yourself in your house, where you live at the moment, going about your daily activities. Let's just say that you've come home from work, you've had a shower, you've put your things away, you're having dinner, and say you're in the lounge watching a movie. And all of a sudden you get a knock on the door. You think, it's interesting, it's a Tuesday night. I don't normally get visitors on a Tuesday night. I wonder who it could be. So see yourself in your mind walking to the front door. You open the front door and there are your parents. And they've got a whole bunch of baggage with them. They've got bags and suitcases and baskets and boxes with them. And they barge on into your house and they say, hey son, hey daughter, it's so good to see you. We've come to our senses and we've finally realized we weren't great parents. We weren't there for you when you needed us. We wish we could have told you that we loved you more. We wish we could have held you more. We wish we could have come to your sports games instead of working overtime. We wish we'd bought you that new bike when you asked for it. We wish we'd done a whole lot of things differently in your childhood, and we've finally come to that conclusion. So what we've decided is that we're going to move into your house and we're going to make it up to you. We're going to cook for you, we're going to clean for you, we're going to go to work with you, we're just going to tell you every minute of every day that we love you and that we love having you in our lives and you're the best thing that ever happened to us. And you no longer need to set an alarm in the morning because your mum's there waking you up in the morning. Your mum's there setting out clothes for you to wear in the morning. She's making you breakfast, she's brewing the coffee, she's packed you a lunch to take to work with you. And then she says, oh, actually, I think I'd like to come to work with you today. I'm just so proud of you. And I'm going to make all your favorites for dinner. What would you like? What can I make you? And tonight we're going to have dessert. We're going to have ice cream. We're going to have apple crumble. All of your favorites. And actually, I'm just going to duck down to the shop. So I'm going to buy you a new bike. I'm going to buy you the latest Xbox. I'm going to buy you the latest phone. I'm going to buy you a bunch of stuff. All the things that you need or you want. I'm going to buy them for you. I'm going to go home, I'm going to put your laundry on, I'm going to do all your washing, I'm going to clean the house and do all your housework. I'm going to sit with you on the couch and watch movies with you all night and just tell you how wonderful you are, tell you how amazing you are. And for some of us, we might really enjoy this. We might think, oh cool, mum and dad are finally here, they've finally realised the error of their ways. But the question is, how long would we find this novel? How long would we really enjoy having our parents there overshadowing us and chipping in on every single decision we made and taking over our lives and making us every single meal and driving us to work, making our lunches in the morning, folding all of our washing, waking us up in the morning, watching TV with us at night, going on holiday with us, going out for dinner on our date nights, it's a couple's night now. We've got mum and dad and you and your partner. How long would you really like this to happen? An hour? Would the novelty wear off after an hour? What about half a day, a week? After a week, would you want your own space again? You want your independence? What about a month? Imagine having your parents there for a whole month at your absolute beck and call. What if they never moved out? What if they were constantly there just telling you what an amazing son you were, what an absolute treasure you are, and the best thing that could have ever happened to them? See, the funny thing is that so many of us say, well, if only I'd heard my mum tell me that she loved me. If only my dad had have said that he was proud of me. I could have done this. I could have achieved that. I could have done all these things. Maybe my life would have been different. But the funny thing is that if they actually did move in with us, most often the novelty would wear off fairly quickly. And we'd want the freedom to choose. We'd want the independence. We don't live our lives now based on our parents' decisions, based on our parents' opinions. We have the freedom to go where we want, to do what we want, to eat what we like, to stay up as late as we like, to choose what music we listen to. So many little decisions that we make every single day, which we now take for granted. At one point in our lives, we didn't have that freedom. Our parents chose what we wore, they chose what we ate, they chose our bedtimes, they chose who we associated with, they chose who we talked to. For anyone who was a teenager in the early thousands when online messaging and texting was in its heyday, you'll know just how frustrating it was when your parents barged into your room and demanded to see your message log, or asked who you were talking to, or can I read your emails? If she asked you, oh, who was that on the phone, darling? Who are you talking to? Oh, you're spending a little bit long on Facebook, don't you think? I think the novelty would we'd get over it pretty quickly. The moral of the story is that we don't need our parents to be there 24/7 to tell us that they love us, to tell us that they're proud of us, for us to go on and live amazing lives. But if we do the work and invite our younger self into our lives, we can tell them that we're proud of them. We can congratulate ourselves, because self-praise is so much more powerful than praise from anybody else. We could have 100 people tell us that they're proud of us, but if we don't believe that, if we don't believe that we're worthy of the praise, it's never going to sink in. But when we truly believe that we are worthy of the praise, worthy of the love, worthy of the honor and respect, just for being ourselves, without our parents' input, without our brothers and sisters' input, that's truly special. So one thing about children is that there is a massive imbalance of power between children and adults. Children don't have the power to make their own decisions. If something bad happens in a child's life, they don't have the option to just leave. They can't move out if mum and dad are fighting. If there's not enough food in the cupboards, they can't go out and get a job to buy more food. If dad hits a child, the child doesn't have the power or the strength to stand up for themselves. But by honouring our inner child, we are giving them power, we are giving them strength, we are giving them courage, that life doesn't have to be the way that it was. And we call it learned helplessness, when a child comes to a conclusion based on their circumstances and the child believes that something is a certain way and it will always be like this, because they don't feel they have the power to ever change their situation. And these beliefs can be really damaging. Whether we store these beliefs away right at the back of our mind, if they're there, they can really inhibit our ability to succeed, to thrive, to move on in our life, to live lives that are really meaningful and fulfilling. Things like, my family is poor and it will always be this way. There's not enough to go around and it will always be like this. Nobody ever listens to me and it will always be like this. Always is a very long time. Children don't grasp the concept of time, so making something an always, a permanent, can be really damaging and long lasting. And then to carry that belief through to adulthood can be really detrimental. The beauty of RTT is that we get to go and explore these beliefs that we took from childhood. We get to unravel them, we get to unpack them and go, I took this belief from childhood and I made sense of it like this because I was 7 and I had 7 years of experience in the world, and so my world looked like this. But now that I'm an adult, I realize I'm not a child and I don't need to run my life based on the beliefs of a 7-year-old. But I can take all the younger versions of myself and have them live harmoniously within me and honor them, honor their needs, honor their desires, honor their curiosity, honor their imaginations. And when we choose to honor our inner child, we can let our imagination run free. We can let our inner child out. We can play and be silly and laugh and live without inhibition, live without thought of what others might think. So as children, if we feel that our needs aren't being met, we can take on one of 4 roles. And we take on these roles to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged, to make us feel like our existence is noticed. So we can take on the role of the carer. If I care for mum when she's sick, she'll notice me and then I'll feel loved and then she'll appreciate me. She'll finally see me. or the role of the joker or the clown. And this person typically, they'll play up, they'll be the class clown, they'll be the one vying for all the attention. And it's not always good attention. They'll be the ones getting in trouble, throwing things in class, doing crazy stunts, just to get attention, just to be noticed. Another role is becoming the sick one. So if you have illnesses and injuries, and your parents have to devote time to putting cream on you, or taking you to the doctor, or getting specialist medications or supplements, that gets you noticed, that gets you attention. Even if these illnesses or the conditions can be really painful or debilitating, sometimes we take this role on just to get noticed, to get attention, to feel worthy. And the final role is to become the brilliant one, the overachiever, the child that's top of the class in everything, good at sports, good at academics, whatever it is, they're good at everything. They win all the prizes, top of the class, head girl, head boy, because that gets them attention. If we take on these roles as children because we feel like outside of these roles, we don't feel seen, we don't feel heard, we don't feel like we're important, we don't feel like we matter. If we take these roles into our adulthood and then we find ourselves outside of one of these roles, we can feel like we don't know who we are outside of this role. And so many doctors, so many nurses have taken on the role of being the carer, and they provide care to everybody in need. In their role of the carer, they feel appreciated, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel worthy, they feel loved, and they give because that is what they so desperately wanted in childhood. They wanted to feel seen, they wanted to feel held, they wanted to feel heard, they wanted to be acknowledged. So what's really important is that we teach our children that they are worthy, they are lovable, they are good enough for just being them. There should never be a because attached to you are good enough, you are worthy, you are lovable. So children learn that if they don't achieve something, if they don't do something, if they don't work for this attention, for this love, that they are worthless without it. That their worth is based on their actions, their abilities to achieve things. And when they feel like they can't achieve things, they can't get top of the class, they can't get player of the day, they don't get the lead role in school play. They feel, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy. And we all know that's not true, but remember that children take on beliefs after being on the planet for such a short time. And they take these beliefs of, I'm not good enough because mum never wanted to spend time with me when I was a kid. And that is the child's belief. And the adult perspective, the adult world could be something completely different. Like mum could be a single mum and have 3 children, and she's working 2 jobs just to pay for the food and the rent, to put the kids in school. And she loves her children so dearly that she works really hard to provide their basic needs. But from the child's perspective, the child doesn't understand the complexities of the adult world. The child believes that they're not worthy to spend time with because mum's never at home, mum's always at work, mum chooses work over us. These are the beliefs of children. And these beliefs are carried through to adulthood. One thing that we can say to the younger version of us, our inner child, is all the things that we wanted to hear as children. And we are the only ones that know exactly what we needed to hear. I'm proud of you. I love you. You are worthy for just being you. You are a good child. I see you. I hear you. I feel you. And I acknowledge you. So it's funny because we've recently got a puppy, and every day I make a point of saying, have I told you I love you today? And then I say, if not, well, I love you, and I want you to know that. And then I give her a wee kiss on the head. And it kind of sparked the thought, have I told myself that I love myself today? Have I been as kind to myself as I've been to my puppy? Have I treated myself with the love and respect and kindness that I give to others? And so now I make a point when I tell Gretel that I love her, I'll say, and I love myself. I am worthy, I am lovable, I am playful, and it feels really nice. We so readily give our love to others because we want them to know how we feel about them, and we don't often give it to ourselves. And if we still think that we're not worthy of our love or we don't need love, what about the little child that lives inside of us? They needed love, they needed care, they needed respect, they needed to feel heard and seen and worthy. And often as kids we felt like we were in the way, we felt like we were a nuisance. Would you kids be quiet? You're making too much noise. Settle down. You're playing a bit roughly. Why did you break this? It was an accident. Well, you shouldn't have been so rough. And we cry. We get overcome with emotion. And it comes out in tears. comes out in crying, it comes out in yelling, it comes out in stomping our feet, banging a door. Imagine if we had somebody, an adult, come up to us, embrace us, hold us in their arms and say, hey, I see you, I feel you, I hear you, I acknowledge you, and I love you. I can see that you're hurting right now. I can see that you're upset, and I'm here to hold you and show you that I love you. And you can cry as much as you need to. Let all of those painful emotions out. This is a safe space for you to share your emotions. And you're allowed to experience all of the emotions. Anger, jealousy, pain, happiness, joy, sadness. This is a safe place, and just know that I love you. Imagine if we'd had that person in our lives that acknowledged us, that held space for us, that was kind to us. But now we have the opportunity to do that for ourselves. We can be our own parent and love our own inner child. And so often as children, when we're feeling upset, when we're feeling angry, when we're feeling frustrated, we're told by adults, wipe that frown off your face, stop crying, go and play outside. I don't have time for this right now. Oh, you're always getting into trouble. You're so emotional, you're always crying. What's wrong this time? Go to your room. We experience these situations as children, and then we wonder why, as adults, there are so many of us who don't feel like we can open up. We don't feel like we can share things. We feel like we're a nuisance, feel like we're a bother to those around us, because that was our experience as children. But I'm here to tell you that we're no longer children. We're adults now. And it's amazing because we do live in the adult world, but often we do carry the thinking from our childhood into our adult lives. But we can make changes if we really want to. So today's challenge is to honor that little child inside of us, to make space and a beautiful home for that child to live in. How will you do this? Some people honor their inner child by meditating, by visualizing, by saying kind things to themselves. But I know that that doesn't come naturally, and it's really challenging for some people. So I've extended my challenge to pets and houseplants, two very safe places to share your emotions. You are allowed to talk to your pets and you're allowed to talk to your houseplants, as long as it's kind things. So treat your pet or your houseplant like they were your inner child. Practice speaking to your pet, your cat, your dog, your goldfish, or your pot plant as if they were a tiny child. Give them the love and the kindness and the nurturing and the care that you always wanted, that you always craved, that you so desired as the child. Some of us need that visual representation rather than just imagining things. So give it a go. Have some fun speaking to yourself kindly, speaking to your pet or your houseplant. Let me know how you go. Because let's face it, we're all worthy of care and love and nurture and support. Just because we may not have received it as children, it's never too late to receive it now. Go and share the love with yourself because you're worth it and you deserve it. And I will see you tomorrow for day 6. Until then, take care.